This is a 2002 Lexus RX300. It has a problem with setting a code for the variable cam timing, a 1349 code, bank 1, and random misfires on bank 1. So I'm going to look into it. This Lexus has 223,000 miles on it. It has the 3-liter Toyota V6 in it, the VVTi. Get to that variable cam timing. The rear head, banks 1 and cylinders 1, 3, and 5 are on bank 1 on the back. I want to use a 5mm hex head to take these 3 hold down fasteners out of the front cover, and then it's been held down by this emblem. Has like a plastic rib clip under it that's grabbing a stud underneath there, and then just slip the cover off. The 1349 code is being generated because the cam is not where the computer wants it to be. It's actuated by a variable cam timing actuator on the end of the camshaft here. And with the mileage that's on it, something to check for, there's a plug at the corner of the head with a crush washer or sealing washer underneath of it that needs replaced, and pull it out and reach through the back in there and pull the cone-shaped filter out and check it for debris contamination. Shortcut around that, I hooked the scan tool up, or 12 volts can be hooked to this oil control valve solenoid. Ground one side and put 12 volts the other, and some motor acts up. It's getting oil pressure to the actuator assembly, and likely the screen's not stopped up. Some more complicated steps would be to watch and see the cam and cranks waveforms together, and see if it's the actuator's sticking by watching the waveforms together. But based on the past history of these Toyota motors, I'm going to have to say this oil control solenoid is sticking internally. I actuated this solenoid with a scan tool, and the motor started running real rough. It could even stall if it's working. Although it is capable of sending the oil pressure to the variable cam timing actuator, doesn't necessarily mean it's constantly doing it. It could be sticking internally, which is likely. You could pull it out, heat it up with a heat gun, and apply the 12 volts to it, and see if it's working as fluid as it should be. Heat it up to about 200 degrees. Check it with an infrared. Unplug the electrical connector and remove the single 10mm bolt. I'm going to take some brake cleaner and wash that area off around it. Now you can check your plug for any corrosion. To release that, just push down in the center of the outside handle. It lifts this hook up. And slide it off. This bolt that holds that down is quite short, so be ready for it to fall out. I've just run my arm underneath some of the stuff and got a hold of it. Let's give it a little twist from side to side and lift up on it. Make sure you clean that area off around it so stuff don't fall down in there. Oh, there it goes. There's probably going to be some oil leak out of it too. Get some shop towels and stuff it around it. That's nice. Clean any debris off from around that hole. You can check the resistance of this solenoid to see if it has an electrical problem. At room temperature, which is just below 70 degrees, it should be 6.9 to 7.9 ohms. And it's probably a little colder than that, so I'm getting a 7.5 reading. I don't see any oil contamination in the plug-in. Now to apply 12 volts to this cold and see how this pin reacts. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to see how that feels, moving it by hand. Oh, it's sticky. Yeah, it's hanging up. And noisy. You see it dropping in stages. Definitely feels pretty rough. I'm applying 12 volts to it. It's responsive, but of course I knew it's still actuating because of the conditions of the motor when I applied 12 volts to it while it was sitting there running. But with the addition of oil pressure on it and higher temperatures, it feels rough sliding it manually. Heat it up and see what it does. Oh, more than 160 degrees, it doesn't actuate anymore. Now it's talking to me. I hear it clicking inside the solenoid, but it just ain't actuating a pin when it's hot. I think as it's cooling off, it's getting more responsive. Let that cool off and see what happens after it goes back to normal. Just to verify what has happened. Looks like about 160 degrees is the magic number to make it not work. Now it's back to working again. I'm going to capture it doing it. it. That's it. Right there. It just quit working. At 159 degrees, 160 some degrees. The coil part's 135 degrees. I'm still touching it to the battery on and off. And it's cooled off again. Nice. That will verify that problem because the engine temperature easily goes over 200 degrees. And this is stopping working at 160 degrees. Went ahead and checked the resistance on this new part. It was good. Oil up your O-ring and stick it back down in the hole. And tighten the 10mm bolt to 66 inch-pounds. Check the new part for any leaks. Make sure it's not leaking oil. Stir up the when it gets hot. Take it for a little test drive and make sure the missfire codes are going on the odd cylinders. Bank 1. Should be in business. Put the beauty cover back on it. Send it home.